Hello and welcome to the More Than Mostly Comedy podcast. I'm Glyn David.
And I'm David Ephgrave. And together we make
Doggett Ephgrave.
You can tell we've worked together for like 18 years or whatever it is, because that was beautifully tight.
That's it, and it doesn't help that there's a little delay because we're doing this via Zoom, so that...
But anyway, thank you for joining us here for another More Than Mostly comedy. It's lovely to have you here with us.
Yeah.
And tonight's an exciting one because it's a very popular chap, James Acaster.
It is indeed, yeah. Very, very popular. And I had a fantastic audience, a Zoom audience, I should say, not a live audience, but a Zoom audience. And
More than we've ever had on any other one that we've recorded, Glyn.
Yeah,
so that
actually,
says a lot.
Yeah.
So that's interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, and James is a sort of, he's a very special act, but also he's sort of personally significant to us because he played the second ever Mostly Comedy back in 2008, in October 2008, I believe, or maybe it was November, and has played just about every venue. I think he's played every venue until the most recent one we've got. And, he's one of those people we've seen. He was starting out, and then he became this huge sort of cult popular act that has written books, done all kinds of things.
Yeah.
So we've sort of known him for a long time, haven't we? We've watched him blossom.
We have, and I said it on the podcast, but it is nice to see him. I sort of feel proud because he was part of that originally. In fact, he was probably one of the first, if not the first act that we didn't know that we had at Mostly Comedy, because we started as a thing with a friend of ours, a couple of friends of ours that were stand-ups and us, and then I think he was probably the second gig and the first person that was a stand-up that we didn't know. So it was kind of the original.
Yeah. It was one of two. It was him and David Trent.
That's
and then,
right, yeah.
Us and the other friends we had. So, he was absolutely that. And at the point when we went, shit, we've got no more acts now. What the hell do we do? We've started this new monthly comedy night. We better just let anyone in. Yeah. And you'll hear the story in the thing, but he was there. And we were quite lucky on that second gig, to be fair, because he's the only person to have been nominated for the Edinburgh Comedy Award 5 consecutive times. Only person to have done that. And many of those shows that he was nominated on previewed it mostly. So, and he's always stuck around and done stuff for us. So it's nice to still do that. But now we might as well get on with it and listen to the interview. So here we have James Acaster. So we're here for another In Your House interview, and today we're in James Acaster's house. How you doing, James? You all right?
Very well, thank you, guys. How are you?
Good, yeah, not too bad. How are you? How's the last year been? I mean, it's a big question to start with, but I mean, how has...
In 20 words.
Yeah, go.
Like everyone else, ups and downs. I'd like the world to be doing better as a whole. And hopefully, whenever stuff does get back to anything resembling normal, we can move forward better than we were before. That would be nice. On a personal level, I haven't minded not seeing loads of people all the time and things like that and having a bit of a quieter life. That's just me and my own little existence. I'm not saying that any of this has been good on the whole.
It's like it was worth it just for us to be able to just sit at home and not have to. Yeah. Do you find I don't know about you, but I've almost got a bit of anxiety about just literally going back to normality, because this has become. I'm so used to seeing people in 2 dimensions now. It's like
it's tough. I mean, I do it at the school gate with the kids, and I am struggling with the personal contact. just the communication. It is an effort. Masks are a good thing at the moment because it kind of avoids having to do too much chat, but you do kind of go, I don't miss this, No.
Yeah. Also, you can't tell at the minute when I'm in those situations, I'm feeling anxious because this whole thing isn't completely resolved yet, and so I'm still feeling like, should we all be doing this? Not sure. Yeah. Or if it's because I genuinely just don't like being around people, and and this last year has helped me realise that. So time will tell.
You found your comfortable place. I mean, you found your zone where you can be.
Yeah, and it's my. Why did I spend so much time out of the house, travelling around the world, trying to make people laugh when I could have stayed here and been happier? Who knows?
It's true. I've got a very big question to ask you, actually, James, because you played the second ever Mostly Comedy we did in 2008, and obviously you've been to pretty much all of the venues. But you're just about the only act I know who stayed at Glyn's parents' house after the gig. So I don't know if you remember that. I was just going to ask, was it a good experience? Was there a good breakfast? Do you remember? Or
do you even remember that?
I do remember it. Yeah, I do remember, because you have a lovely family. Everyone was very nice to me as well. I'd say around that time, I lived in Kettering still.
Yeah.
And so there was like certain gigs that I had further afield where I couldn't get back home. And I was staying on a lot of people's sofas, a lot of people's spare rooms who I didn't know, who I'd never met before. And everyone was pretty more or less nice to me in those years. I had some people who were a bit weird, and I would think, oh, maybe I would have been better off, not staying at this person's house and sleeping in the train station instead.
Yes.
But Glyn's family were extremely welcoming, hospitable. It was lovely. I can't remember the details of the breakfast, but that's in many ways a good thing.
The weirdest thing is, I can't remember why, but you stayed at my parents' house and I wasn't there. So
I know you weren't there.
Somewhere else.
I definitely remember that you weren't there because it was like. But then sometimes that's easier. Sometimes you're not hanging out with the people you did the gig with. You just go straight to bed at someone else's house. It was. I mean, the fact that I can't remember the breakfast is a good thing, I'd say.
Yes,
you remember the excellent breakfasts and the awful ones, and everything in between.
Yeah,
I don't think I was eating much breakfast back then. Actually, I was skipping the most important meal of the day quite a lot.
That's crazy. It literally is. It's the best meal of the day, I think. Really,
actually, you know what? I'm just glad you didn't say anything hurtful because my dad's in listening tonight. So you've done well with that.
Papa Doggett.
He's there.
He's in. The other thing that amused me today, because obviously, we know you and we've seen you a lot and everything and know what you've been up to a degree. But you do that thing like, you suddenly go, oh shit, do I actually know anything about, really do I know? Because obviously there can be a lot of people in tonight who know your stuff like inside out. But I went onto Google, as you do, and you have like the Google question suggestions. And one of the first ones which amused me was, what's James Acaster up to? What is he up to?
That's great.
Yeah.
That's another big question though, isn't it? It's like, what does that mean?
What's he up to, that guy?
What's he doing?
Googling that. I wouldn't Google that because I would assume nothing would come up because it's too colloquial. Like that kind of like, what's someone up to? It's too informal.
Yeah, just put your name in.
I would assume you wouldn't get an actual proper. Put the name in. You'll find out. What's he up to?
It's so bizarre.
That's right now. That's what people want to know right now. What is he doing? That's scary stuff.
Yeah. Well, was he? I wonder if he's watching Emmerdale or something. It's just it's bizarre. But what has your last year been like? I mean, what did you have like? Big plans for this year that were changed, or I know obviously, like you said, it's been quite nice to not see people, but what have you been? What are you up to? Really, is the thing I'm asking.
I didn't have anything planned really because I just finished the biggest tour I'd ever done at the end of 2019, and until then, I'd never really given myself any time off of doing stand-up. So I'd had since 2008 when I started in January, all the way through to December 2019, just not really ever having a break. So I was like, I'm just going to have a break. So the plan anyway was take 2020 off and not do any live shows and just focus on writing things that weren't stand-up. So that's all I did. So I've stayed at home and I've been writing a new book and I've been writing other things which may or may not happen, scripted stuff where they're all at different stages, and doing a lot of recording podcasts. I do Off Menu with Ed Gamble, and I do my own music podcast on BBC Sounds. So I've been doing those on a weekly basis and really enjoying recording podcasts from home. And I've also been doing a music project with musicians around the world, and it's just a thing that before lockdown happened. Or before I even thought there was going to be a pandemic, I'd recorded loads of drums in the studio just for my own kind of enjoyment. And then the pandemic hit and I had all these drum tracks. And so I just started sending them to musicians that I knew and messing around over the internet with people, and steadily built an album up out of that, which is hopefully going to be finished by the end of this year. That's been amazing. I've enjoyed that so much. So just doing a bunch of different stuff that I can do from home, really.
That's cool. It's quite interesting. Like, so do you send them the drum track without any other sort of so nothing else on it yet, and let them do what they want?
Different stages for different people. So to begin with, I had drums that were recorded by myself and a jazz drummer who I'm a massive fan of, called Seb Rockford, and he had played over the top of my drums, and I kind of sent those tracks, like those double tracked drums, to a musician in Barcelona called Joanna Gamila, and she spent a weekend improvising synths and vocals over them, and then I cut those improvisations into tracks and sent them to a musician called John Dietrich, who's in a band called Deerhoof in America, and he put loads of music over the top of her improv and my drums, and then I've started sending them to vocalists and rappers and people that I really admire to sing on those instrumentals. So it's kind of built up slowly, and each time it comes back to me, I'll edit it and chop it up and, get it so it's where I want it to be, then send it to the next person. And we're at this stage now where there's about 3 people left out of I think there's been 32 people in total contributing to it. So 3 people now who are returning their stems. I've got a rapper, a guy doing a bunch of synth noise on stuff, and a sitar player. And I'm waiting on those 3. And then when they're done, I'm mixing it later in the year.
So you're producing it all yourself? You're editing it all yourself then?
Yeah, so that's new. That's really new to me. I wanted to do something that, I wasn't familiar with. I thought during this time, it'd be good to learn new skills. I could already play drums and, kind of basically put together tracks when I used to be in bands, but producing is a new skill. So I've basically been doing that, and that's been amazing. I think just being able to sit down at your laptop now and arrange songs for ages feels like just this unlimited creativity. You can just do whatever you like, sitting at home. It's been good.
Yeah,
I think it's been interesting that this sort of time particularly has been really productive for a lot of people, musically particularly, because a lot of people brought out albums across the pandemic that wouldn't have happened, everything from, I'm big McCartney fans, always going about him. Mm-hmm. Paul McCartney through to Taylor Swift, I think released 2 albums in that time. So do you think you would have done, was it something you were going to do anyway, or is it something you've really done because you've had this time?
I was going to do something anyway. I had to pick up my drum kit from my parents' house because it's been there for over 12 years. And they just always having a go at me, you have to take it out the house now. And so I'd finally gone, okay, I'll come and get it. And I didn't want to just get the drum kit from their house, which was all had been packed up in its cases for 12 years, and just move it in its cases into my flat. I wanted to do something with it. So I thought it would be fun. I hadn't played drums properly in 12 years. They hadn't been played in 12 years. Take them to a studio, get them all out, don't tune them, and just play them solid and improvise for 2 days after having not played in over a decade. Yeah. And then get a professional jazz drummer who plays every single day to come in and tune that same kit and play over the top of what I've done.
Fantastic.
And so he did that, and then it went into the drum kit went into storage, and then this hit. That's been that really. I've now donated the drum kit to a school that I used to work at, so they have it there. Cool. But I was kind of going to do something anyway, but didn't know what it was and didn't know what the plan was. And then when this happened, you just go, well, I'll take advantage of this. All my favourite musicians are currently at home. So, I'll chance my luck and contact them.
Funny enough, I bought an electric drum kit when this started because it's the one instrument I've not really ever sat down and properly done. It's one of the things. Yeah. So it was the same sort of thing. I thought, well, I'll use this as a chance to, because sometimes you think you get a bit shut off. You go, well, this is who I am. This is what I do. This is the routine, which I imagine must be the case for you, when you're putting together shows and stuff. And actually going, do you know what? I can actually change the story a little bit and do something I haven't done before. So
anytime you get kind of you're repeating yourself creatively, the joy of being self-employed is that you actually don't have to do the same thing again. Yeah. It might be financially, more safe to do the same thing again. Yeah. But you kind of go, I don't want to write another show right now. Doesn't mean I'm never going to write another stand-up show, but I can just do this and just see how it goes. And do you know what? When I started out in stand-up, I had no money, and I was just chancing it. And there's nothing to stop me chancing it ever again. I'm more comfortable now than I was when I started. But if I absolutely fuck it and I go back to being skint, then I've already been skint once and not know what I'm doing. So I'll just do that. I've got no kids, so no one's dependent on me. Yeah. But I saw McCartney once.
Oh, did you?
By mistake. I was walking. I'd done Josh Widdicombe's radio shows. This was a long time ago when we were doing the XFM show. And I was walking just through Soho and I wandered into Covent Garden and it was rammed. And I was like, oh, this is weird. Why is it busy? And I noticed there was a stage. And then suddenly McCartney walked on and it was promoting the new album. It was called New. And he just walked on and said, everyone get him. But then I was like, fucking hell, McCartney is here. And I was pretty close because it's Covent Garden. So anywhere is would be an amazing seat in an arena. Yeah. And I was there oh my God. And then he says to the audience, everyone get your iPhones out. And then just a sea of iPhones and iPads went up in front of me. And it was the worst view. So I found myself watching 2 songs. So I was like, I have to watch McCartney. And then after 2 songs, I just kind of went, fuck this. I can't see. Everyone's filming him on their goddamn phones. This could be an amazing moment for us all.
You just experienced it.
What do you think about, walking past the Apple building and they're on the roof? If everyone just went, and that was it. And then you're like, well, that's that. Yeah, it's not special that I was there anymore.
I want to say to anyone who's listening who's like from America or anything, that is what the UK is always like. You just go around the corner, McCartney's there. It's just a standard British thing.
You're always doing a gig, yeah.
Yeah. I saw him, it was the same time. I won tickets for his Maida Vale thing he did, and it was like about 150 people, and it was like ridiculously close. So bizarre when like, because I met him as well, and that sort of thing, when you meet someone who is so iconic, and as you meet them, you think all those little moments in your head, like you say, on the roof, or like, you know, Our World or something. It's just, it's crazy. It's such a bizarre thing.
Astonishing, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I suppose in a way as well, how is it for you to be in a situation where, you know, going from, like you say, like chancing it to being a recognisable face that, you know, inspire a lot of people as well? Is it a weird thing? Have you got comfortable with it yet?
It's weird if you pay too much attention to it, because you actually don't know because if you start to think about it, it might feel weird, but that's because you don't actually know what it is. It's not really real. Like I'm a fan of loads of musicians, loads of comedians, actors, whatever. And really, I'm a fan of their work, and that's what I like. And the person themselves it doesn't really factor into it that much. And I try and remember that people might be a fan of my stand-up, but like there's probably a healthy sort of fandom where they're a fan of the stand-up and I don't really come into it that much, and it's actually fine, and I can carry on just doing whatever. Also, when you start viewing everything as like, you know, anything you do is just a bonus. Like, so it's just so nice to have anything do even a little bit well or find its audience. And then I guess if you start thinking too much about the audience or whatever, then you stop doing what got you there in the first place, which was just creating stuff that you liked and you know, stuff that I would genuinely like to watch. So not being self-indulgent and trying to make something that if I wasn't doing it, I would enjoy it as an audience member. And then, as long as you stick to that and you don't think of anything else outside of it, it's fine. And because I'm not on social media or anything like that, I don't really see, you know, that side of things too often. It's kind of all right. So, there were times when it was a bit weird adjusting to stuff. But as soon as you kind of go, oh, none of that has anything to do with me, I can just ignore that. And actually, then you just enjoy the freedom to do what you like. And, you know, you kind of just think, well, I'll continue to do whatever project it is I want to do at the time. And I guess if I mess up enough times in a row, I won't have that luxury anymore. And I'll have to just do whatever pays the bills. But like, at the moment, as I say, I don't really have a life that requires that much money, so like I can just stick to doing the projects that I enjoy, and as long as I still get to do that, then I'm happy.
It's great. What really sort of satisfies you now creatively? Do you find yourself actually can you live your life normally, or when you're thinking about material, do you find yourself as things happening going, oh, how can I use this? You know, is it easy for you can you switch off from that comedy mind now? Do you think? Yeah,
I can now. When I started out, I couldn't. When I was, you know, first time I did mostly and stuff, my whole life as a brand new comedian was everything was like, is that funny? Is that funny? Is that a thing? Is that a thing? Does everyone relate to that? Can I put that into a routine? What sort of routine should it be? Is it a story? Is it a one-liner? I'm just like constantly thinking about it and doing my own head in and really like think to myself, is this ever going to end? Because if it doesn't, I should not do stand-up, because my life is just going to be a cacophony of noise in my head all the time. And obviously, as you guys know, as you progress and you learn, you develop a filter for stuff, and you develop this subconscious thing that lets certain things like turn a light on in your head and make you go, oh, there's something in that, there's something funny there, that's an interesting story or whatever. But it's not everything all the time. So like, and whenever, you know, I'm doing a new stand-up show, I just book in loads of work in progress shows before I've got any idea. And then most of the time on the way to that gig, start thinking about what I'm going to talk about. So I'm on stage in, you know, an hour and I've got to talk for an hour. What do I want to talk about today? And just go with whatever the thing is that you know, you want to discuss. And as long as you follow that impulse each time, whatever the creative impulse is, whether it's, you know, back in the day, it might be, I want to tell them that I'm an undercover cop and I'll mess around with that. And then and then the most recent show was like, do you know what? I just want to talk about the stuff that's genuinely on my mind at the minute in my real life. And because they're work in progress shows, it doesn't matter if it fails. And that kind of embracing that failure frees up the rest of your life. But you can just live your life, and then you can go and, you know, actually all the kind of, is this funny, is this not, that went on in your head constantly before, you don't have to ask yourself that. Go on stage try it all out, and you'll find out if it's funny or not. And as long as you can, accept that some people, especially nowadays, might come and see you do a work in progress and come away and go, he's lost it. That was shit. I had a friend go and see Stuart Lee, who my friend was a massive Stuart Lee fan, but not a stand-up and not involved in comedy. And he'd seen all of Stuart Lee's shows on tour, so the finished versions, and was like, Stuart Lee's genius, he's my favourite comedian. And then he went to see Stuart Lee do a work in progress. And I spoke to him the next day and he went, he's lost it. He's lost his touch. This show's not as good as his other shows. And I was like, wasn't it a work in progress for like £2? And he was like, well, yeah, but it's not as good. He was still performing it like I was like, no, that's not finished, mate. Yeah. He's not finished it yet, but he didn't sing it like that. So you always have to remember that when, some people know what a work in progress is, some people don't.
Yeah.
But again, it's like just taking that hit. The stakes are a bit higher now. People know who you are. Some of them are going to come away and say his new show is shit before it's finished. But at the end of the day, as long as you do all the work in progresses, you do the whole tour, which often is very long, and I think it's healthier to consider it a work in progress still. It's better for me if I do, and I'm still changing it. And at the very end of all that, you film it, and then you put it out for people. And then, that's what you all can judge it on. Yeah. Or judge it on that final thing, and then if people will say it's shit, you go, well, fair enough, it must be shit.
Do you find as well, like you sort of have conversations with an audience, particularly when you're like starting new stuff, do your thoughts not really form, or your opinions not really form until you're doing it? Do you find yourself like saying things and thinking things you hadn't ever really considered until you get on stage?
Sometimes you kind of like, sometimes I find myself, saying stuff I don't even believe for an easy laugh. And then quickly that comes out of the set. And you go, I don't say that just to get a cheap laugh out of everyone. Sometimes, you do find yourself maybe figuring out what you think about something on stage. Sometimes based on the audience's reaction to something, you think that something's universal, and then you talk to them and you feel them like back away, or this isn't something that everyone thinks about. And then you think, I've really got to articulate this, or this routine now becomes more of a kind of me making some sort of statement where I thought it was an observational bit, and now I've got to do it in this way where I'm kind of like making the case for something instead. And you realize, you've got to kind of like get behind something a bit more. I think that's the main realization I always have is just like how relatable something is and how much it's just me or how much it's all of us. They're the big things on stage where I kind of go, oh, okay, it's that. And sometimes you feel a bit exposed all of a sudden. You share something that you thought was universal and it's not, and you feel judged or vulnerable. And then you find yourself reacting in a certain way on stage and trying to justify what you've just said, and so people don't think you're weird and stuff. That can happen, I think, in work in progresses.
And I suppose it's weird as well because, like you're saying about the work in progress thing, we know what that is and we're used to that. But like if you're into a band or something, they just play the songs, or if they play a new song, they play a new song and it's sort of finished. So I suppose in a way it's quite a weird concept because, like, if you read a book, you read the final draft. You don't. But then at the same time, like, if you're not freeing yourself up enough to do work in progress, you're never going to do anything good or that you want to do because you'd be too safe, wouldn't you?
Yeah, and fingers crossed that we'll all still be able to do these. Like, there's obviously many levels of comedy and comedian above me who are more famous, more successful, who for them a work in progress show is almost impossible. Like the whole thing with John Mulaney recently, you do a work in progress show and someone from a massive publication turns up and writes a whole article about it. Well, now everyone knows what he was working up and everyone's got an opinion on it who wasn't even there. This comedy writer who should know better. That guy has interviewed me. I've spoke to him. He knows and he understands comedy. And he also knows that right now, John Mulaney is good clickbait, especially if it's about his personal life. So just for the sake of his website, has put that out there and kind of sabotaged a potential new show. Where that show was going to go and blossom into, especially that John Mulaney's currently in the thick of all this stuff happening to him. So he's probably trying to make sense of it all as a routine, and it will take time to form this really nice show that really sums up what he wants to say about it. But he's not afforded that luxury anymore because people go, I'll get more clicks if I do this now, especially because of work in progress. The emotions are more messy. The thoughts aren't as articulated. One of the reasons people are drawn to stand-ups sometimes as people rather than as, I said earlier, being drawn to the material and the stand-up shows is healthier than being drawn to the people. But sometimes when people get drawn to the person, it's because they buy into what they see on stage, which often is someone who has all their thoughts in line and everything is very clear, because they've honed it and they've honed the routine so that they're able to say, here's what I think about this, here's this story, here's this part of my life, here's who I am. Whereas if you go and see it early, that's not as clear, but it's way more fun to write about because you can make the person sound like a mess because they're trying to figure out all this stuff on stage. Loads of comics have had it happen to them. Alan Carr's had, loads of tabloids write about every work in progress he's ever done to try and create clickbait, say that he's slagging off other celebrities when he's not, all this kind of stuff. So you really hope that work in progress shows can in some way exist so that, these comics who have, those guys have worked really hard to get to where they are today, can actually still have the chance to write as good a show in the future as they have done in the past, and are allowed to do work in progress shows. Also, the problem is that a lot of the time, if there's not journalists there, audience members, we're all on social media now, and people will see something, go, oh, I can tweet about this, I can Facebook about it, and my tweet or whatever will go viral, and that'll be validating for me. And fuck the show that guy was trying to perform. I'll just write this thing saying he said this at the gig last night and stuff like that. So that kind of stuff can be difficult. And, you can't really... Then there's no solution to that. People often say, like, oh, why don't you do this? Why don't you limit the amount of people who can turn up? Why don't you, shut off all, electronic devices when they come in? You can do a blocker. When you do that stuff, it makes the audience enjoy it less. They feel like they're being policed and they're being controlled, and then they can't laugh and enjoy the show as much. In order for comedy to work, you basically have to give the audience that responsibility to act like decent human beings, and most of them do. A vast amount of the audience do, but the small percentage who don't are going to give the show away, do whatever, and then if their job as a journalist is to do that, then obviously, you can say stop journalists from going, but you can't stop them from going if they buy a ticket and just turn up. You can't.
No.
If they ask for a freebie, sure, block them. But
But it even happens at our level, because the first time I did a solo show, and I'd been in a particularly sort of bad mental health place, and I'd been in therapy for a while, and I was I built it up over time. And the first 4 dates I did were in Brighton on the Brighton Fringe. And then on the first day, a comedy journalist, who shall remain nameless, came. And, it was advertised as work in progress as well. And the review I got was utterly brutal. And not only that, it listed all of my stories. So killing the stories. And you go, I wasn't trying to change the world. I was just trying to make this first step on my own. And it just, it was I remember actually specifically coming out of a therapy appointment and then getting the notification, seeing the review, and oh, fucking hell. And it just, and I mean, I've come round to it now, and I've used it in the show, but I just think, again, the responsibility of someone who is actually a comedy journalist to do that at that stage, not understanding, if you don't give people a chance, where's anything new going to come from? Where are any new people going to come from? And that's just on my level of without any sort of profile. So you go, but then you add the profile in, and like you say, these people, like Stuart Lee doesn't get the chance to do what he does to create something really fucking good. It's shit,
that's mad. Reviewing a work in progress at the Brighton Fringe.
I know.
Suppose you didn't do a U-turn straight back into the therapy session, David.
Can I come back? Yeah, exactly.
See you later. Oh, okay. There's something new's happened.
You have to clear the diary.
Yeah.
And there was me, him, and a friend. I think you came to that one, Glyn. In fact, it was about 3 people in the audience
Yeah. It wasn't me who wrote the review. No, but it was me. I was there. Yes,
that would have been brilliant.
We've got a lot of questions from people who are listening in today. So I'll refer to them. Unless, Glyn, have you got any that stand out for you?
I was looking through. I mean, we talked about this ages ago, but someone actually did ask, "What's the best breakfast cereal?" But I mean, if you don't eat breakfast, then it's not really a question.
I do now.
Oh well,
I'm
there we go.
Man now. I've changed since I was staying over at Papa Doggett's house. I mean, obviously, as a Kettering boy, I have to say Weetabix. I'm sure the person who asked that question is expecting that as a response. My favourite, the Weetabix range is Weetos. I've got a sweet tooth, but I do also like, the mini Bix, of the chocolate or the fruit flavour ones. Absolutely stunning. Right now, I've got some plain Special K in the house to make me feel like a good boy.
Okay, yeah. I sometimes buy that and mix it with fruit and then get bored really quickly and then move back to toast or something.
It's pretty boring.
Someone said here, did you ever get your laptop back after leaving it on the train before a gig in Leicester Square a few years ago? You seem pretty annoyed about it.
And that was Claire Wrighton who sent us that.
Oh yeah,
so funny stuff like that. You seem pretty annoyed about it.
You would, wouldn't you?
But yeah, I mean,
I had turned up and I had lost it. But obviously, yeah, on stage you play up the annoyance for for comic effect.
Yeah.
It was pretty annoying at the time. Like, they had this whole palaver had happened, but I had like a short-lived routine out of it that I got to do on some Radio 4 show that week, and I was very grateful. I did get it back. No, hold on, so I've left a number of laptops on trains.
Really?
Did I get that one back? I might not have, There's one that I remember getting back where I'd left it on a train, and I think it ended up in Manchester or somewhere. And there was a comic called Gareth Berliner who was going to be coming back from. I basically just went online to search any comics who were gigging in Manchester that night. Found that Gareth was, and was like, dude, if you could pick up my laptop, I can meet you at King's Cross. It'd be incredible. And he did it. He barely knew me very. We've done a few gigs together. He didn't know me super well. Could have just ignored the text. Picked it up, and I met him at the station. I gave him a box of chocolates because I didn't know what to get. I should have got it, but I thought he didn't drink, which I think might be correct. I'm not sure, but I thought I think he's teetotal. I can't get him like a wine or something. So I got him this box of chocolates, which he also said he doesn't eat chocolate. So he said so my missus will like that. And I was like, okay, cool. Someone's going to get something else. But yeah, God bless him. He went and sorted it out for me. But yeah, that's great that they've remembered that. I really enjoyed doing that routine when I was doing it, though. I think I did it for a small amount of time. And that was one of the ones where it was almost the opposite of what we were talking about. It's like, while the emotion was fresh, it worked really well because I could lean into the annoyance of it. But as soon as that was gone, I was like, that's just a routine about leaving a laptop on a train. I mean, who cares?
But, do you think, because I read your book, Classic Scrapes, which I enjoyed. It was great.
I'm reading it at the moment, by the way.
Thanks.
And well, there's a couple of things I'm going to ask you about that. But well, actually, one thing, I mean, because obviously, like, you're used to a certain degree. What you do now being a thing, it's what you do. You are a comedian. But writing a book and seeing it in a shop and, and then it being a Sunday Times bestseller or whatever it is, how does that feel? I mean, to like the kid inside, were you aware of that?
Yeah, I felt, I mean, that's, one of the high points of my career, my career. Like one of the big things, big influences for me getting into comedy and British comedy and wanting to be a comedian was Dave Gorman's Are You Dave Gorman book was like one of the kind of like most the biggest kind of influences. There's that, and This Is Spinal Tap, and Eddie Izzard's Dressed to Kill, and seeing Josie Long at the Roadmender, and Dave Chappelle's For What It's Worth show. There's a whole bunch of things that go, all these things made me want to do it. And I used to just, I read that, and I read Google Whack Adventure, and I read all of Danny Wallace's books that came off of the back of it. And I just loved those kind of like comedy books. And I started reading stuff like, Bill Bryson books around that time as well, because it was similar sort of the way he told stories. And I really wanted to write a book like that one day that was just a bunch of stories about, silly things or whatever that I'd done that were written in a kind of like, dry way or whatever, stuff that wouldn't necessarily work as stand-up, but and when I did mostly comedy for the first time, it was those routines, it was those stories, and I was just doing stories from my life all the time. And then I stopped doing them. I started doing different stuff, and then I did them on Josh's radio show. And so just to find a home for all those places in that first book and get to write something that felt like a Dave Gorman book, and even reference Dave Gorman in the book. There's one of the stories in it is about me and my friends trying to do a Dave Gorman type thing when we were younger, and loads of me saying, I realised I wasn't Dave Gorman, and then one day I got a text from Dave Gorman saying that he was reading my book and this is nice to see, and it just felt like that was actually more so than the bestseller list and stuff like that. That was like the real highlight, was going like, oh, that's literally the person who inspired me to write this book, texting me, letting me know that he's reading my book. And I hadn't sent it to him or anything, and it was just like, oh, this is great. And I'm really proud of the book that I did after that, and that it's different. It's more personal and less kind of comedy, and it's more about music and this kind of passion, kind of love letter kind of book. And now the book that I'm writing now is just completely fictional and stupid and silly, and that's a different challenge. And I think that's the thing I've really enjoyed about the books, has just been like try and do a new thing each time and challenge yourself to do something different. And then that leads to whatever the next project is, like Classic Scrapes. If I hadn't done Classic Scrapes and written a load of true stories and then done a book tour reading those true stories, I wouldn't have done the last stand-up show that I did, which was all true stories, because, I started enjoying telling actual true stories on stage again during that book tour. And that made me want to delve into that again. So like, it's nice to always try something different with a book, because then that opens the door for where you're going to go next elsewhere in your career, stand-up or whatever, podcasts, with the last one as well.
It's funny, actually, when I started reading Classic Scrapes, it just took me right back to like Mostly, the beginning of Mostly, when you used to turn up at Mostly, because I think there were stories in there that you told at Mostly Comedy.
Yes.
So it was like I was like, whoa. And actually, it's quite nice to hear that you kind of went back to do them again on stage and stuff afterwards, because I know like in the book you kind of said, I didn't really want to tell these anymore on stage, and obviously doing with Josh's radio show. So it's nice to know, because that was one of the things we sort of used to love when you used to turn up, and just how honest those stories were, and how just brilliantly told.
They would work at Mostly and maybe work at a gig that I used to run in Kettering. But at so many gigs, people just think I was lying because they assume that comics are lying. And at that time, I had a rule that everything had to be true.
I remember you saying that.
And I'm not allowed to make anything up. Yeah. And so I'd go on stage and tell this true story, and then it would sometimes not work. And people would come up to me afterwards and go, yeah, I just didn't believe that happened to you. And it was so frustrating. And then, but obviously Josh started at the same time as me. And when I did Josh's radio show, he was like, come on each week and tell one of those true stories that you used to do, because you don't do them anymore. And like, it'd be fun. And then suddenly in that context, when you're sitting down with your mates and it's on the radio, it would be mad to lie to their faces. And also you get interrogated by them. So if you've made something up, you're going to get found out pretty quick. So you would just have, and also, there was no kind of rules of there was no kind of need to make up a punchline, because you would kind of workshop your way to a punchline between all of you anyway, not by making up an ending, but by just saying something funny off the back of stuff. So yeah. Someone's just sent, I've got the chat up as well. And someone's just said that they read a short story that I wrote about a murder, and they liked it, and they hope there's more to come in that line as well.
I missed that.
I'm not going to respond to everything. They did it by direct message. It's very sneaky. I don't want to encourage everyone to direct message me, because I'm not going to respond to all of them. But I'm going to respond to that one, because that short story that I wrote about a murder, one of the things I've done while in lockdown is I've turned that into a screenplay. And hopefully it's something that me and my friends are going to make as an independent film. So that story that they've mentioned, there is more to come in that line. It's the same story, but as a feature film. But who knows when we'll get around to doing that. But that is something I've really enjoyed doing as well, doing all this.
Do you think because of that thing of, well, I know like you sort of said before that you didn't necessarily decide to do comedy, you sort of were doing it and then you went, oh, this is what I'll do, sort of thing. But do you think the way things have gone for you has enabled you to do more things that you would never have ever considered? Like the freedom to go, well, fuck it, I can do that now. I can just give it a go. Do you think? Kind
of. Well, I wanted to do everything when I was in secondary school, and we had to like say what careers we wanted after school. I literally wrote down that I wanted to be a musician, an actor, a comedian, a cartoonist. I wanted to make films. I wanted to have my own radio show. I just wrote all this stuff, and my teacher told me to take it seriously and start and like choose one or choose something more practical and all that stuff. And I didn't want to go to university, and I didn't go to university, but like, all that stuff, I didn't get why I would do that, because I remember kind of realizing for the first time when I was a kid that I was going to die one day. And then just from that moment on thinking like, why would I do anything I don't want to do? That is, if I don't have to do it. And I was like, well, I don't have to go to university, so I'm not gonna. And it was always just like, do whatever. And I think like I chose music as the thing that I was going to do, because that was what I was most passionate about as a teenager. And when that kind of like, got a bit rocky, and I didn't want to go through the whole kind of palaver of like forming yet another band and trying to make other people care about it. I just started stand up because it was something I could do on my own. Also, I just wanted to see if I could do it. And I thought if it fails, I can tick that off and go, that's something I've done now, And so when I first did Mostly and stuff, I was just doing it for the experience, just going, because I hadn't really traveled around the country much either. I'd just been in Kettering. So like, I was like, going to Hitchin was exciting. Like it was genuinely like, I'm going to go to to King's Cross. I'll be in King's Cross Station in London, and then I get to get the train and go to Hitchin. And it was like genuinely exciting. And I get to stay around this person's house. I've never met them before. It was genuinely an exciting thing, rather than just kicking around the same streets that I had been my entire life up until that point. So like, it was just a bit of fun. And then, because I have this kind of, how my brain works, where once I get stuck into something, I really get obsessed with it and I want to work on it and improve it. And I really enjoy improving. So that was stand-up really allows for that, because you can do a gig every single night if you want to. You can write new material, you can try it out that night, you can tweak it. So it just was like really, that was really fun. And then it picks up and you find yourself, suddenly it's your job and you're supporting someone on tour, and now you're doing Edinburgh, and now you've got your own tour, and now you're doing radio. And it was all these new challenges, and you're constantly doing that. And now it's got to this point, and you kind of do go, well, there was all these other things I always wanted to do anyway, music or write a script or, do a radio show, which now podcasts allow us all to do that whenever we want. And you do go, oh, I can, fuck it, I will do that. Or, and the book was like that as well. And you kind of go, how lucky to be in a job that allows you to do that. Stand-up comedians kind of like are allowed to kind of like, have a go at that thing and see if you're any good at it. And as long as I think you approach that in the right way, and you're not doing it just to tick something off, and you are actually doing it because whatever idea you've got, like the Classics Greats thing wasn't actually my idea, it was the publishers. But as soon as they said to me, like, do you want to, we've seen these on Josh's radio show, do you want to make a book of them? I was like, oh, that's easily the best format for those stories, is to be in a book. And I've only ever suggested a book to the publishers that I thought, this has to be a book. Like the last one was like, about all this music I'd listened to. And I was like, the best way to tell this story is in a book. If I do this as a live stand-up show, it won't be good. If I do the personal side of the story as a podcast, it won't work. But actually, I can do this as a book and it really works. And then the podcast format off the back of that was more suited to being a podcast. And with this one now that I'm doing, it was just like, this is the best way to do it as a book. So they contacted me, the publishers who I've got a very good relationship with, but they contacted me at the start of lockdown saying, any more books? I was like, no, because I didn't have any ideas. And I was like, and then when I had an idea, I contacted them. And I think that's the rule for this, everything across the board is whatever idea you have, what's the best format for it? And then try and follow that and go, right, it's worth doing like this, not I'm doing it just for the sake of it.
Like you say as well, it's the commitment that you then give to that idea to make it. That's kind of, and we were always, I know we've always said how impressed we were with your commitment to like stand up right from the beginning. Like you'd be like, well, he's gigging like every single night. That's ridiculous. But it's just so impressive.
Had to, otherwise, that train journey. So it's like so expensive.
Exactly.
So it's
make it
like
worthwhile.
You got to be there for a few days and get a load of gigs in, and then it's like, okay, that's more worth it.
I used to find Kettering particularly, it's quite expensive, that line into London. I know when I've done gigs that way, and it was like, you really have to pick the time of day to go. You can't just
Midland Main Line, man. They fucking rinse you. That's it.
That's their tagline, I think.
Yeah.
What's it like to write fiction for the first time? As in, like, total fiction, if that's what you're doing. What's that like? How are you finding it?
Really fun. A new obviously, my stand-up shows used to be these kind of mixture of fiction and truth, and this is kind of that. Right. It's about certain elements of it are the overall concept of it is true, but everything is made up in it. So, everything else is made up. Yeah. So, that's just been again, you just have to, that thing I like doing a work in progress. So right now I'm like second draft and it's shit. and it's going to be, but you write that knowing that. So like first draft, never show it to anyone. It's going to be embarrassing. Second draft is just, everything second draft onwards I love. First draft is horrible. And you just have to like get from A to B somehow. Yeah. And it just feels like, ugh. And then everything after that is tweaking, honing, polishing, and I love that. I love just going over it in the second and going, okay, this is rubbish, and here's how I'm gonna, improve it and whatever. And this one's just because it's just pure silliness at the moment, like my stand-up shows used to be when they were like, the undercover cop one or something. Yeah. Just silliness to begin with, and then the more you do it, the more you realise, oh, actually, I'm writing about this, or there's this kind of poignant moment an opportunity for a poignant moment there, so maybe I'll do that. Yeah. So obviously, with the more I do with this book, I'll notice more opportunities for stuff. The subject matter is definitely, there's a lot there to make any social commentary or whatever if I want to. So it's mainly just that thing of like, it's like limitless what you can do, because it's fiction. And that can be intimidating. And so what I'm trying to do at the minute is just like I do stand-up shows and just make myself laugh and just write stuff that I think is funny and then be honest with myself the next time I go around and draft it if I still think it's funny or not. And if it still translates, and keep on making it clearer, clarifying stuff for people who are reading, who aren't in my head, so that they get the joke. Opportunities for more jokes, character development, all that stuff. And so like that's kind of just approaching it like a fun new thing, rather than I find it more stressful if I've got to recreate something I've already done. But the joy of doing something new is great, because it feels like you can only improve, you can only win. Whereas like trying to recreate something you did, I don't know. I don't really know how people do that.
I suppose it's a bit like the thing you were saying, because I had this as well, being in a band. It's like if you have the perfect band, if that ends, you don't want to just try and make a band out of nothing with people that just don't work. It's not. So certain things just have to be a certain way, don't they, really, for it to work? Yeah.
Also with bands, it's like when bands have these like amazing albums that come out, I'm really fascinated with the follow-up albums all the time. Whenever they have these like monumental records, I go, what did they do next? Sometimes the answer is nothing. They just stop because they're like, you can't follow that up. And sometimes they try and recreate it, and that never works. And I'm really interested in the bands who go just like so far in the opposite direction and go, because they want their audience to know you're not getting that again. We did that for you just now, but now we're gonna, like, there's a group. Well, there was a group called Songs Ohio, who are an amazing band. Jason Molina is the main songwriter behind them. He's died now, but he did solo projects under his own name. He did a group called Magnolia Electric Company, which is also the name of the final Songs Ohio album. It was called Magnolia Electric Company. And it's incredible. It's this incredible album. And then the album that he did after that was a solo album called Pyramid something company. It was like, so almost a similar name to Magnolia Electric Company. And it was just this drone kind of just one guy and an electric guitar, droney, devoid of melody folk songs that were kind of quite hard to listen to. And even though I don't like it as much as Magnolia Electric Company, I was like, I get what he's doing, and I love that he's done that he's gone, all those really nice kind of alt country rock songs that I did on that old one with these beautiful melodies and harmonies. Here's the opposite of that, and don't ever expect me to do that again. And it was like, I really like it when people do that.
That's what someone, Kinger in the chat says, that's the difference between a people pleaser and a creative artist.
Yeah, definitely. And I think for me, the kind of, I guess the best musicians are the ones who manage to be both in a way. So who are a creative artist but aren't just thinking about what they want to do, and they are putting themselves in the shoes of an audience member, even if it's themselves. So they're not trying to please the audience and do what the audience are demanding, because the audience don't know what they want necessarily, but at least being like, if I was listening to this, would I enjoy it?
It's that Sgt. Pepper thing, isn't it? It's like, let's be a different band. Let's make that the way of making this work, rather than just going for
I love, I mean, that's one of the best. That's kind of almost the golden example of it, I guess. It's like going, fuck, we're the biggest band that has ever existed. What do we do next? Let's make ourselves a different band.
We've just done Revolver.
Let's just be a different band entirely.
What's your opinion on Dylan? Because obviously he's turned 80 the other day. What's your relationship with him?
I've not got enough of it. My dad is like, he's one of my dad's favourite ever recording artists, and Nish Kumar, who obviously you guys know, is one of his favourite ever ones. And one of my dad's favourite conversations he's ever had is sitting down with Nish and talking about Dylan. And he still brings it up to me sometimes. He goes, "Oh, that's such a nice conversation." I'm like, I'm glad, Dad, that you bonded with Nish so well. But like, I've never I've listened to Dylan, obviously, but I've never, it's one of those people that's like, I'm at some point going to fully dive into Dylan. I've listened all the way through to Blonde on Blonde, Blood on the Tracks, and stuff like that, and liked them, but then I've not gone over them. And then obviously the iconic, Judas gig and stuff like that is almost just knowing about that. Is enough to be inspired by Dylan, knowing that he did that at some point and pissed that many people off, and he was right at the end of it as well, and that they now look like dicks for shouting that out and doubting him is like almost the dream for any creative person, is that you are brave enough to make that big a change, even in the face of even your fans rejecting you. And then time goes on, and it's seen as being this amazing decision, and you create some of your best work, and that you give yourself this second chapter in your career, and that kind of stuff. I think there's probably not a creative person since Dylan who doesn't refer to that story in their head. and even if they haven't listened to his music, and use it as encouragement to do what they want, I think. Because
you take it for granted that it all worked out fine, don't you? But the fact is, he didn't know. He was just taking, doing what he did and taking the risk, which is...
Oh, man, if I'd done a gig and people were shouting that shit at me and I'd tried something new with stand-up, I don't think I would have come out and gone, time will tell. I'm going to be the victor. I'd come up and go, well, that's it. I'm going down in history as being a fucking idiot. So, good on him.
There's a statement in the chat that Emma Hawes says, there's so much incredible music out there. It just sucks that it's impossible to hear it all. But it's, I mean, I sort of kind of, I think I'm a bit like that. I'm always kind of listening to people talking about incredible music and thinking, why haven't I?
Well, it's because Glyn, you bought Teletubbies Say Eto and tried to justify it to me. Fuck's sake. The things I have to put up with this man.
But I'm really bad. I'm really bad at committing to an artist or an album or anything like that. I hear a song and I like a song and that's kind of it. But if you told me a lot of the time asked me who it was by, I'd be like, I don't know. I just like that song. Just a nice song. I'm not very good at the sort of...
I've been working on it for about I don't know how many years.
Tried. Tried. Yeah,
nearly 20 years of just no, Glyn, this is the right thing. But
I
find with Dylan as well. My recommendation to you is Time Out of Mind, if you've not heard it, which is one he did in the mid 90s. I actually like when artists get older. I like because there's that sort of cliche that when you're young and you live fast and you die young and all the best stuff is your early stuff. And you have the drive then because you've got the energy. But I like to hear how they feel about aging or whatever it might be. And Time Out of Mind is a really powerful it's sort of recognising mortality. But he was only 56 at the time, so it's it's not even that old, but it's great. So that's my recommendation to you if you haven't heard it.
Thank you.
There was a question on the chat from Mandy Groves who said, "What is your favourite song right now?" Right now, this very second.
Great question, Mandy Groves. What is? Do you know what? I want to refer to my iTunes because I've been listening to a lot of stuff, and I want to get this question correct.
You've got to get the right answer.
We'll know if it's wrong.
Yeah, what is actually? Well, actually, is that? Jesus, can that be my answer? I'm not sure it can.
What you feel.
You're filtering.
Obviously, I'm still recording the podcast about the music of 2016, and I'm still. I mean, look, I bought over 700 albums that came out that year, so I am still listening to those albums a lot because you never fully. It takes a long time to digest that much music.
Does that include stuff sort of real popular music stuff?
Sort of thing Glyn would buy.
But what I'm saying is Little Mix or there's someone like that. Is it kind of include everything?
As long as I like it, yeah. So anything that I only bought albums that I liked. I bought Rihanna's album from that year, Beyonce, so it's great pop music. Yeah. But if I didn't like, Little Mix's album, I wasn't buying it just for the sake of, because that's not an achievement. Anyone could have done that. But that many albums that I liked. At the minute, the stuff I'm listening to, I just started up with my music like that.
Play it to us.
Playing it.
Here it comes.
So the something I've been listening to a lot lately has been a TV soundtrack for a show called Over the Garden Wall, which I would really recommend watching that show. It's 10-minute episodes. So you can watch it like one film in one evening. It's an animated series that was on Cartoon Network about two half brothers who get lost in the woods, and it's full of magical creatures and talking animals and stuff like that, but genuinely funny jokes that are in there as well, and amazing music. I watched it on Amazon, but I had to buy it off Amazon. I couldn't find it on any streaming site, but I bought the series. But my way into it was the soundtrack. So the soundtrack came out in 2016, and it was in the top 20 when I looked at it on Rate Your Music best albums of 2016. I was like, what's this album? I've never heard of it. And it's in the top 20. And this was recently. This is this year. I saw it there. I was like, there's a 2016 album I've not heard of that's been scored that highly on Rate Your Music, which is scored by members of the public. Yeah. And the music is just brilliant all the way through the series. It's amazing. And the song that I would say is the one that I keep singing now. And I'm going to have to look about what the name is because there's 40 songs on this soundtrack. And I'm not good at knowing all of their names. And it's actually not a very good representation of the whole album because it's in an episode where things shift a bit, so the world changes a bit. So the music isn't the same as the rest of it, but it's called The Fight Is Over. And it's on the Over the Garden Wall soundtrack, which is by the Blasting Company and other musicians. And I think The Fight Is Over is actually sung and performed by Patrick McHale, who's the guy who created the whole series. And he did this song himself. And just because of where it lands in the series as well, and the moment that it is set to, and it's a very short song. So it sticks in my head quite a lot lately. So that's the one. If I wake up in the middle of the night or in the morning, that's the song. That's the first song in my head at the minute.
It's a really good thing with music, isn't it? I find it, like when I was on tour and stuff occasionally, however good or bad a show went, to go home and listen to that song is a real sort of, I don't know, it settles your brain and it makes you, I don't know, it just reminds you, if you had a shit one, oh, it's not that bad. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Music is so fucking powerful in how it can change.
Best thing ever.
Yeah.
So good. So yeah, I mean, that's why, when I was like, the whole story behind me getting into music of 2016 is having a bad personal year and not really being able to cope that well during it and learning how to cope through loads of different things, going to therapy, exercising more, blah, blah, blah. But listening, because I was on tour a lot that year, so didn't always have time. I couldn't always go to therapy because I was away for large chunks of time, or I couldn't go to the gym. And actually,
I just booked it out because I just had my terrible review, so I booked out the therapy and you couldn't get in.
Yeah, I couldn't get in. I was like, well, David Ephgrave's got every single appointment. But I just listening to music and discovering new music, especially, so great. You kind of like have this whole thing of not only is connecting with songs, does that feel good anyway, but new music that is coming out now, reminding you that there is positive stuff going out into the world right now, and humans are making positive things and good things, and and that this was obviously 2016 was like Trump and Brexit and stuff like that, which for me personally weren't spelling out a good world or a nice world, or making me quite negative about things, and then going, but this band have made this inspiring, amazing album, and these people have made this amazing cartoon series, which I think, to be fair, the cartoon series came out earlier, but the soundtrack 2016. But I think it made me feel way more positive about people and the world in general.
Do you find it easier to be honest about what you like now you're a bit older, or have you always been? Because you strike me as quite sort of you not confident with your opinion. I mean it in a positive way, like you want to express how you feel about it. But do you find, because I don't know, for me, even with the McCartney thing, I wouldn't admit that I liked him to some people, because it's like, it's the cliche. And you go, actually, when you get older, you go, fuck it, no, I do like this. And I like looking at the bits that aren't so good. I don't have to just listen to the Beatles stuff. I can listen to the other stuff. So do you find it easier to be honest about what you like, or have you always been like that?
I think I always used to say what I liked and be honest about it, but I couldn't articulate why I liked it, and so people, if they wanted to, could absolutely destroy me. So so if I said to a friend, like, I was really into nu metal when I was a teenager. Nu metal is kind of an objectively bad genre of music, but I loved it at the time. And I would say to a friend who was like, more into like sludge metal and old school metal, and or they'd listen to Black Sabbath and stuff that is like, even if you don't like metal, you can kind of go, well, Black Sabbath objectively have written amazing songs. So those people would turn to me and go, what, you like Taproot or bands like that? They go, that is shit. And then I wouldn't know how to justify it. I'd be like, I'd still carry on saying that I liked them, but I just didn't know how to, and that would get your confidence, because people often would say, oh, that's rubbish. It's like, they point out what they don't like about it. And they like say, they always do this rhythm all the time, or the singer sings like this all the time, and that's why I hate it. And you go, oh, the singer does sing like that all the time, and they do those kind of rhythms, and so maybe it is bad. And now as an adult, I just see that the things that one person loves about something are the things that another person hates about it. And it's just that you love that thing and they hate that thing. I love how this singer sings. You hate how that singer sings. When you point out that singer sings like that, that doesn't mean you're right. It's shit.
No.
That just means you're right. The singer sings like that, and that's what I like about it. And actually, you not liking it doesn't have to affect how I feel about it at all. And definitely through this whole 2016 thing, I felt like that. I got into some albums through bad reviews they got. If a reviewer is good, we've talked a lot about bad reviewers earlier in this podcast, but if a reviewer is good, they will be able to sum up exactly the essence of something, and they can add their opinion whether they think it's good or bad. But if they are a good enough writer, they can get across to someone who won't like it steer clear of this. And while simultaneously getting across to someone who will like it, this is for you. You should listen to it.
Yeah.
And I was seeing, I saw a guy review an album, and he said, I don't like this. It's like demos the album. It's like he's made an album and it's all just like demos. And I was like, that sounds fucking great. And I listened to it because I was like, this is awesome. It's like half ideas throughout the whole thing, recorded in a really lo-fi way, and that's really endearing, and I enjoy that. And there's loads of other people who enjoyed that album too, but other people don't feel the same way, and that's fine. And I definitely learned, like, doing this podcast now about music, like, people will come on and all of them are albums that I love and that mean loads to me, and I'm kind of like, already know what the criticisms are going to be because it's what I love about them. So if people come on and don't like the albums, I'm not going, what? You can't think that, or oh no, maybe they're right, and this isn't a good album. Because the point of the podcast isn't to say if something's good or bad; it's to let the listener know if you like this sort of stuff, you'll love it. If you don't, you won't love it.
Yeah.
But here's us talking about music, and celebrating new music and treating it with the same kind of sense of reverence that you treat old music. We don't just need to speak about the classics in this way. We can speak about music that's coming out right now because it is as exciting. There's so much going on right now.
Emma in the chat, I think she actually wrote this question on the other questions as well, but how did you get involved with Choose Love and EDM for EDM? And when's your next DJ set?
I don't have a next DJ set planned, but I'd love to. I got involved because they approached me. They approached me and asked me, and often you just everything on their own individual merit. They were really cool people. They really cared about the cause, and I kind of thought, it's I like DJing. It's one evening, get to sit in my living room and play a load of songs, and I did it. Sometimes you get asked a lot of different stuff, and you just agree based on if the people are going to be cool to work with, really. So whether it's a massive thing or a small thing. It kind of doesn't matter, and they seem cool, so I went along with it.
Amazing.
Going back to the questions, the one I definitely have to ask. This is from Georgina, aged 5, and it's actually a quiz question because we've been doing a lot of quizzes in Zoom, and this is a friend of mine's daughter. See what your answer is. So the question is, how do you ride horses?
Right.
It's a tough one.
There is a right answer, by the way, and this is a 5-year-old.
Oh, really? So this is like a correct answer?
That's correct. Well, as far as she's concerned, in her world vision.
Yeah, in her world. Very carefully? Is it something like that? That's what I would say at age 5.
That's quite a consider. No, giddy up is the answer, apparently.
Love it.
Which just reminds me of, there was a friend in my band who one time a horse, when he was a kid, bit his ear, and his mum stopped it by punching the horse in the face, which is always sort of stuck in my mind. The idea that you have to punch.
That's a parent's instinct right there.
That's it. Punch it in the face.
Yeah. Punching everything in the face, parents.
Yeah. We should let you go soon, really, because it's getting late. Well, I mean, what am I to say? But you should be really fucking proud of what you've done, because you've done so many different things. You're so prolific. You're so honest with what you do, and it's for us to see, like, from when you started and to what you've done. It's just incredible. Yeah, it's just great. So I don't know. I don't know what it says for me to say it. I'm Glyn to say it, but you should be proud of what you've done.
It means a lot. No, thanks, guys. Well, you too, as well. It's good. It's nice. I think when you start at the same time as each other. It's something that it's quite hard for. I don't know. It's not hard for anyone else to understand. It's quite easy for anyone else to understand. But like when you start out in stand-up, and it's such a weird experience, the open mic circuit, and those people who you are on that circuit with, it's that thing. Even the people you don't know that well, that is for the rest of your life. You all shared that weird experience together, and it is a thing where, like, I've been walking down the street and seen someone that I haven't seen since 2008, 2009, but I did a bunch of gigs with them back then. And you just do a U-turn and it'll be like, you shout them and go, well, do you want to know what they're up to? Because you all went through this just bizarre, exciting but scary, and at times, soul-destroying experience together.
Yeah, it's weird. We were saying earlier, actually, it is sort of a golden age in terms of people, because we had, coming through us, we obviously had you and people like Josh and Nish and Nick Helm, people like that. There was a sort of huge contingent of people who all just sort of all collectively went on and just have done so well. So it's sort of, you feel kind of sort of proud in a way, having been people that have ran as much as we were kind of gigging, we were running a comedy club. So you sort of had to see people sort of all coming from that place and all. But it was an
invaluable space. Mostly comedy was like one of the ones where, I think I did one of my first hour long sets there.
Yeah, I remember.
Before I even had a show. Me and Trent did like a double header together. You know, a space that isn't on your home turf that you can travel to and try the next step at in front of an audience who are supportive but aren't going to just let you get away with doing any old shit is really, really invaluable, especially when it's outside of London as well. And that's not going to be just a London-centric crowd. I think is so important. And it was one of those rare gigs that you kind of go, well, whatever happens there, that's going to be a useful show. Like, you know, whatever, you know, whether the gig goes bad or not, or good or whatever, you know, this is going to, you know, help me improve. And when you're starting out, and even into, you know, doing all my solo shows at Edinburgh and doing work in progresses at Mostly and stuff like that, it was one of the really, really useful gigs, and it's hard to put one of those on. So, you know, thank you guys.
Thank you for doing it. Thank you. I remember your first message when you sent, I think it was on MySpace, asking to do the gig, and you said, "P.S. I'm not a dick." So that was the thing that made me go, yeah, okay, well,
yeah.
I think I did that to a lot of people. I put, "P.S. I'm not a dick," because, like, you know.
In fact, there was a question from Evie who said, "What's your best advice for someone trying to start out writing stand-up comedy?" Just say you're not a dick, and then you'll get gigs. That's kind of the way it works. Make
sure everyone knows you're not a dick. I mean, writing stand-up comedy, I mean, I would say just like, I mean, it's almost redundant advice at the moment. But like just like book gigs. So like, you know, like for me, also all any comedian can like give is their advice based on their own personal experience, and it's never the right advice either. Like, really, I guess, you know, the best advice I was given when I started out in stand-up was Josie Long told me to try out every single idea that I had while no one can judge me, and then I'll figure out, you know, the right path for me. So, you know, I was writing stuff verbatim, I was improvising stuff, you know, I was making like bullet point notes and stuff like that. So like, you know, I just tried everything at the beginning. And I'd say, if you are thinking, how can I get started in this? The good thing about stand-up, as opposed to, you know, with acting or something, you have to wait to get an acting job or something like that. But with stand-up, you can just book loads of gigs. You can email people, tell them you're not a dick. Some of them will book you, some of them won't. I got some curt replies from some people telling me, "We don't know you, fuck off," or whatever. Okay. Well, that was
Glyn, I think, sent that.
Yeah. I didn't let it deter me. I turned up anyway. But like, but just like book yourself loads of gigs and then just try as many different approaches as possible. And see what feels, and just be honest with yourself from then on. Just see if that felt right or not. Don't always try and tell yourself that was good and the audience were rubbish. Like, try and be honest with yourself. Was that what I wanted to do or not? Like, you know, one of the examples I've talked about with you guys, and I've talked about on other podcasts now, is an early Mostly comedy gig where there was a guy there who was heckling me a lot.
Yeah.
And my comebacks to him were pretty brutal. And they were getting big laughs in the room, but I went away from the show going, I don't want to do that ever again. I don't want to put someone down that harshly when I don't feel they deserve it, just so I can survive the gig. And, you know, I didn't, there's a lot of mistake making early on in those days, and you're just trying out every single thing. But the most valuable gigs are when you come away and go, actually, I won't do that thing again that I did tonight. And you decide that kind of stuff. The comics who I started out with, who would always come away and go, "No, I'm fucking brilliant," and this lot just don't know what funny is. Then none of them are doing stand-up anymore.
Fair enough.
I suppose it's a bit like that, you know, like when you do like a maze, like a kid's maze, you know, like drawing thing. It's like shading in all the dead ends to go, oh, that's the path you got to take, allowing yourself to go wrong. You know, because otherwise it's just
go wrong.
Otherwise it's just been safe, isn't it? Don't listen to the careers advisor as well. That's probably the other good bit of advice.
I mean,
true.
No one ever goes to the careers advisor and gets told, "I'll tell you what job you're good for is a careers advisor."
I was just going to say
never what people say.
How do you go? I want to do that. Well, thanks so much, James. And it's good to hear that you're doing so many exciting new things, and we look forward to seeing and hearing them. But take care, and sorry for all the people. So many questions we could have asked and didn't have time, but we're doing.
We've got time for one more if you want to do one more. But like,
just trying to find one now. I'm just looking. There's lots of comments, lots of nice comments on here.
Do you feel comedy can be successful in challenging and changing problematic social conventions, stroke norms? This is a light one to end on. If that is something that should be attempted at all. So, do you feel it can change things? Do you think comedy can change things or deal with problematic things?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I don't think that that's what it should always do. I think the main things that people like always kind of with stand-up, people go on and on about as if there's just one right way to do it. And people can go on about stand-up should always be challenging stuff and changing things. And then other people being like, you shouldn't be trying to do that with stand-up. That's ridiculous. And actually, you can do anything you want with stand-up. That's why I love watching stand-up and why I'm such a fan of other comedians, because you get to watch someone do something completely stupid one night, and then someone do something really, something that can change your mind or like, make you think about things differently another night. Obviously stand-up comedy on its own can't just transform things, but nothing on its own really can a lot of the time. But like, you can definitely change people's minds. I've watched... I've been to see comedians who have changed my mind about important political or social issues and made me maybe go away and think about them in a different way. And yeah, definitely anyone with a platform where they get to stand up in front of a room full of people and speak to them, you do have that opportunity. It's just then what you do with that, that's responsibility. You have to be responsible. So, some people really think through what they're going to say when it comes to really big, important issues, and they articulate it really well. Other people don't. And both of those people can influence the audience, inspire people and change people's minds for better or for worse. And so, I think it's important if you are a comedian and you're writing that kind of stuff, if it's genuinely about the issues and and you want to write about those issues, fine. If it's about you, maybe back off of it. If it's about you being right and being this godlike figure and you want to, be there, not enacting change, but in this like almost like making the world the way you want it to be. If it's too much about the ego, put that material to one side and just do some silly stuff or just do whatever. But like, if you genuinely are really passionate about those subjects, of course you can enact some sort of change with your comedy. What won't happen is that, whenever things do eventually change, people aren't going to go, and it was all because of that routine. So it's not going to be that. But individuals and stuff like that, definitely there's opportunity for that.
One tiny silly question that I should ask. What's the largest animal you could take in a 1v1? That's from Will G. Yeah,
great question. The largest, you'd feel bad fighting any animal. I'd feel pretty bad punching an animal or fighting one proper. There's a lot of pretty ferocious ones. Obviously, trying to think of like a large animal that is basically docile and doesn't really fight back.
Capybara, maybe capybara.
I'd say, like, to be honest, like if a blue whale was beached, I could probably just go and get a few rounds. It's not really going to be able to do much. It's still technically alive, but it's on my turf. I'm not going to go in the sea and fight a blue whale. I'm not an idiot, but like I would probably just like stand on the beach and get a few, stand in its blind spot and like just get a few digs.
Do you not think that's a bit like the story you were saying about the gig with us and the guy? Isn't that a bit like that though? You walk away going, "What the fuck have I done? I just punched."
Listen, I wouldn't feel good about it. Listen, no. I'm not coming on your podcast and saying, "Do you know what, guys? I really want to fight an animal." Like this has been put to me by someone else, and I've got to choose an animal to fight. I'm not saying I would want to fight a blue whale. I don't want to beat up a blue whale. If I was walking down the beach one day and I saw a beached blue whale, I would phone the authorities. I would phone Greenpeace, and I would get it sorted. I wouldn't go, well, now's my chance to get a few digs in and beat a blue whale in a fight. However, in this hypothetical scenario, that's the answer. I'm going with the biggest mammal in the world. But not on its own, an away game for it. And I think I could beat it. Yeah.
Thanks, James. Take care, and we'll see you soon. Hopefully not punching whales. Horses, go for horses. Apparently that's fine. Right in the face.
Well, this is it. Yeah.
Got a good shape.
If I ever have any kids, I'll take out all the horses in the world.
Yeah.
Preemptive strike. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Thank you, James. We'll see you again soon. Cheers.
Thanks very much.
See you later, guys.
Cheers.
Pleasure as always.
So that was James Acaster.
And Glyn David and David Ephgrave as well.
And us there. Yes. Good chat, though.
Good chat. Really nice. And you could tell as well, because we had the chat window going as well, and there were, as we say, I think, so many questions that were coming through. But he's someone that inspires a real sort of loyalty and a real sort of fan base. And it's interesting on the sort of inside, because again, when it's someone you know, and when it's someone you know from a certain place, from just being a guy that did the gig in the George pub in Hitchin, it's kind of funny to see And I mean in a good way, but to see now, he's a Sunday Times, twice Times bestseller with his books, all the shows he's done, and touring around the world. And these people are like, oh God, I've just had my question read, to him, my name mentioned. It's really nice. It's nice when you see that. And with James, it's someone who's very deserved, I would say.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think that's what we kind of said on the interview, but he is so deserving of that kind of everything, all the success he's had, and because he works hard at it, because he that's been his thing, and we said it years ago when we feel like we're saying, I'm not saying like we discovered him years ago,
as in we knew before anyone else.
But we sort of knew years ago how hard he worked. that's what
I tell you, when I do the trailer for this, that's the only thing I use. We knew how hard he was. Glyn David in shocker erection story.
I mean, always at this point of the night where my brain is sort of half working now.
You've worked hard to like disguise the tiredness, and now you're just like, I've got nothing left now.
No, but you know what I'm saying. I think I said it anyway. I'm only repeating what I've already said, and people have already heard me say. But he was a hard worker. He did lots of gigs, and we were always saying, "Oh my God, he's gigging literally every night." But it paid off. It definitely paid off. So
absolutely, and well deserved too.
Yeah.
And still, as he always was, a real like special one-off act. He was just always brilliant. So it's also a lovely point to note, because we've sadly lost a friend of ours from mostly comedy, Katie Coxall, who used to play mostly in the very early days, possibly with James on the same bill. But James has offered for his fee to go to the hospice, Garden House Hospice, as a thing for Katie Coxall. So that's a nice little touch. And I know she really liked him. So, he's a good person to do it for. So that's a nice thing. But yeah, so that was a lovely chat. We've got lots of other lovely chats you can listen to. All kinds of people: Rory Bremner, Jan Ravens, Bobby Davro, Josh Widdicombe, all kinds of people, really, which are available in the usual places where you find your podcasts, where you found this, in fact.
Absolutely, and do check out. There's a whole load of new, more recent ones, and there's a whole load of older ones on there. And again, we did interview James years ago when we were at one of our venues back in 2013 or 14.
I think it was 13, yeah.
And so go back and listen to that as well. That's always an interesting thing to go sort of look back at.
And also, I mean, the exciting thing, depending where you listen to this, hopefully, if the COVID restrictions have been lifted as they're supposed to, and we're currently in 2021, as I say this, we'll be reopening our doors, hopefully in July, doing live shows again, but also returning to the live podcast aspect. So the thing we did for the first and only time, sadly, so far, with Kate Robbins and Norman Lovett back in February 2020. We'll be doing that again. We've got Zoe Lyons on it. We've got Phil Cornwell, all booked for the moment, Simon Day. So we'll be able to do these interviews in front of an audience again, which will be really nice. And I'm looking forward to it. I don't know about you, because we've sort of had this, it's like a weird sort of rehearsal, or sort of getting used to, again, the idea of interviewing people. Because that one we did, it was good, but obviously it's a bit pressured. So it'd be really nice to hopefully keep that same level of relaxed conversation, but in front of an audience.
With an audience, and we actually get people asking questions live in the room, so that's quite exciting. The whole kind of setup of it is kind of what we plan to do in the first place. Not that this hasn't been amazing, but it will be nice to do some live interviews with an audience there as well. And
you could be there if you go to mostlycomedy.co.uk. We will be doing this ad infinitum, or whatever the forever is what I'm trying to say. I don't very, again, like Glyn at this stage is talking about erections. I go into Latin.
I know. I'm impressed. I'm impressed that that's the where you've gone.
So it's the only thing I know, really, and I didn't even know that. I got it wrong. But yeah, so thank you for listening to this. And if you liked it, maybe like it. Do that physical likey thing and share it and pass it around, because, other people might like it too. And it's all about spreading the word of comedy, keeping things going. And it's just nice to have more people listen to it, really. But that's enough of me rolling on. And yeah, thank you. And we'll see you next time for more than mostly comedy.
Yes.
Confusing, very confusing. Bye.
Bye.